As someone that not only enjoyed most of the original trilogy of DMC games but also the Ninja Theory take on them, I was really curious to see where Devil May Cry 5 would lie for me. To my astonishment, Devil May Cry 5 is not only as good as all those games, but it manages to trample everything else released so far with enough style and joy to just tell you up front, it's one of the best games I played this year. While most know Devil May Cry for its incredible action combat, it's no slouch when it comes to story, and DMC5 is no exception. It oddly enough starts off with a climactic moment right from the start as Nero and a new character named V help Dante take down the also powerful Demon King Urizen. Sadly for the trio, things don't go too well for them, leaving Dante stuck in the underworld while Nero and V go back to train and get ready for a second round. After a few months, the pair return stronger and better than ever, ready to take on the Demon King and save Dante. The story does a great job at switching perspectives between the three playable characters without dropping a beat on their characterizations. Nero is a sarcastic, scalebound looking badass that just can't help but crack a joke even in the face of death. V, the mysterious new character who you'll learn about more during your adventure, is a Kylo Ren looking sad boy that reads poetry in their free time. Lastly, there's the old man, the honcho, the veteran, our boy Dante, who's just as hilarious and just as full of personality as always. The trio of main protagonists are accompanied by the mostly strong cast of supporting characters like Nico, the DMC team mechanic that has an itch for demon technology and just a touch of sass on top. She's comical, brash, and has a great synergy going on with the rest of the cast. Sadly, some of the other supporting characters don't do as great of a job on screen. While not terrible characters, they didn't add as much to the story as the rest, often having these awkward mild nudity scenes that really didn't add to the story, nor did it really flesh out their character. I mean, well, technically it did, but you know what I mean. Overall, Devil May Cry 5 presented a cinematic adventure that was filled with a great cast of characters, some moderately decent supporting characters, all while somehow finding a way to balance out their personalities and screen time. For a game so much about just creating stylish combos, I was just as excited to see the amazingly well-crafted cutscenes as much as I was to play. My gosh, Devil May Cry 5's combat is so good. It's simple, yet it can get complex, and there's enough variety for you to just continuously have fun with it well after you finish the 10 to 14 hour campaign. Throughout Devil May Cry 5's 20 missions, each of which can range from 30 to 60 minutes, you play as 3 characters, Dante, Nero, and V. Each of them have a completely different playstyle to them, although when you boil down the controls, you can sort of transition easily between them. Each character has a long range attack, a short range attack, and a special technique that's custom to each character. Starting off with Nero, his special technique is using the Devil Breaker arm. It's an interchangeable arm, each with a unique ability that not only adds to your combat arsenal, but at times can even add to your maneuvering one too. Using Devil Breakers along with Nero's Red Queen sword and Blue Rose gun, Nero's combat is incredibly addicting. I love being surrounded by enemies, just pulling them in with the Devil Breaker, slashing them up with Red Queen, and then finishing them off with one last blast. It's so much fun. V, on the other hand, is a bit of a wild card in terms of gameplay. He doesn't have a main weapon like Nero or Dante. Instead, he summons creatures to do the fighting for him, with one attached as a long range attack and the other as a short range attack. While his creatures do the fighting, V has to land the finishing blow with this cane. It takes a bit to get used to since you have to make sure you dodge attacks as V while also managing the attacks of your creatures. When his double trigger meter is filled up, he can summon a giant beast that rains havoc on everything below. I never got tired seeing it just fall from the sky to save the day. Lastly, there's Dante, the bread and butter of the series and the one you're probably most familiar with if you played the series before. He plays just like he did in DMC4, switching between 4 types of melee and range weapons. There's a solid mix between both old and new weapons that keep things feeling traditional while also feeling completely new. He also ends up feeling a lot like a combination of V and Nero, providing a middle ground between the 2 different playstyles. While all 3 characters offer different playstyles, I've found playing as each of them to be incredibly entertaining. Nero felt like a great training wheels character to get my footing with, V was different and a little easy in terms of difficulty, but offered a lot of room for diversity in combat. Dante, of course, was the safe familiar character that felt like home for the series, yet still had some new tricks up their sleeve. The campaign will have you switch between these characters every few missions, but the pacing of it feels well done without any hiccups. In every mission, you'll collect these red orbs that act as a currency for all your upgrades. Nico, who builds the Devil Breakers for Nero, also helps you unlock new abilities with that currency. What's really marvelous is just how DMC5 manages to keep new abilities and skills coming throughout the entirety of the campaign. Even towards the end of the game, I was still unlocking new moves that had me experimenting with my combos for the most style possible. That's one of Devil May Cry's most prominent features: style. Combat is great, but ultimately what you're trying to do is max out your style rank by adding some cool variety to your combat. Unlocking new skills and experimenting with them is just one of the many parts of DMC I got addicted to. Part of crafting that style is the reputation DMC has built up for being challenging, and while it can still be challenging in this game, it's pretty apparent that this entry does feel a bit more forgiving. If you die at any point in the campaign, you can spend either the red orbs you've collected for skills or a rare gold orb to revive yourself. The caveat with that is that both are pretty easy to collect, so it doesn't really feel like that big of a sacrifice to revive yourself in combat outside of you just getting your final score docked. A neat little touch during the campaign is the seamless online that lets you see others playing online. It's sort of like Journey for the PS4. At times you're on a mission as one character that takes place during another mission with another character. It's during these moments that you'll see a live player or the ghost data of another player at a distance, playing the other character on that same mission. It's not really co-op since you don't interact with each other, but it's a neat little touch to the story. As for post-game content and replayability, beating the campaign you'll unlock an even harder difficulty for those seeking the classic DMC challenge. You can also go back and unlock the secret missions scattered throughout the campaign, unlocking skills that you may have missed during the original playthrough too. Of course, there's always that enticement of perfecting your combos for the best score on any given mission. I'm just going to say it, DMC 5 has style, in the same way that Persona 5 had style. Whether I'm the one in control launching demons into the air and blasting them with my Devil Breaker, or just watching a cutscene that rivals some CG animated films, there's this blanket of cool just over the entire presentation. I'm impressed to see cutscenes be rendered in real time and look this good. I mean, some of the textures rival some pretty realistic imagery, at least when looking at the character's skin. The opening alone had already made the game feel like a movie that was about to play in front of me, and honestly the experience wasn't too far from it. From a performance standpoint, I primarily played on the PC with a GTX 1060 and an i7 4790K. I was easily able to maintain a 60 FPS lock at 1080p with just about everything maxed out on ultra settings. It was surprisingly well optimized. That's also translated well over to consoles. On Xbox One X, you'll get a mostly 50 to 60 FPS running at a checkerboard 4K resolution, while on PS4 Pro, that's more of a locked 60 FPS running at a checkerboard 1800p. As for the baseline platforms, the base PS4 is able to maintain a native 1080p image with an FPS hovering around 50 to 60, with the Xbox One S just really bringing in the worst performance. On One S or the original Xbox, you can expect a 1080p checkerboard resolution with frame rates dipping as low as 45 frames per second, and them hardly ever maintaining 60. Devil May Cry 5 is a beautiful game with a lovely use of ambient lighting, detailed character models, and a vivid picture presentation. Just maybe don't buy it on the original or Xbox One S. Devil Trigger is an absolute bop. It gets you in the mood to get demon slaying, perfectly meshing with the sense of style seeping out of Devil May Cry's presentation. I'm beyond 14 hours into Devil May Cry 5 and I've yet to get tired of the theme song or any of the background fighting tracks that match up to the score during combat. It's so streamlined that you can't help but smile as you end up defeating all the enemies in an area just as the song hits its climax. Actors' performances are also well done across the 4 main characters you'll see most of the time. I think a few of the lip sync could have been done better, but performances alone were great. Despite having completely different personalities, the main cast really flowed well, and I enjoyed their interactions. A few of the supporting casts could have been better, but that's also more onto their writing rather than their performances. I have no idea what they're putting in the water at Capcom, but whatever it is, it's making all their game developers knock it out of the park. I mean, just a few weeks ago, Resident Evil 2 started 2019 on a fantastic note, and now we're back with honestly just another marvelous game from Capcom. Devil May Cry 5 is by far my favorite entry in the series. It's slick, stylish, and just everything you'd want from a Devil May Cry game outside of a few hiccups in the story and characters. That aside, what's here is nothing short of pure entertainment at its core, presented in a beautiful fashion.